For centuries, legends spoke of pirate cities that vanished beneath the sea. Places where gold was traded in open markets, rum flowed like water, and law existed only as long as a blade allowed it. Many believed these cities were exaggerations, romantic tales spun by sailors. But then divers began finding the ruins. Stone streets, collapsed taverns, cannons still loaded. Evidence that the legends were true. Subscribe if you want more forgotten histories resurfacing from the deep. The Caribbean in the 1600s was a world balancing between empire and chaos. Spain, England, and France fought over trade routes, but pirates and privateers carved their own kingdoms among the islands. These were not hidden coves, but functioning towns. Bustling markets, brothels, blacksmith shops, and taverns that never slept. They were built fast, lived in fiercely, and ultimately destroyed just as violently as they rose. One of the most infamous was Port Royal, Jamaica. A city so wild that contemporary writers called it the wickedest city on earth. With streets lined by gambling dens, rum bars, and pirate halls, Port Royal became the beating heart of Caribbean piracy. Yet its downfall came not from a navy or government, but from the sea itself, swallowing it in mere minutes. On June 7, 1692, an earthquake struck with almost no warning. The ground liquefied beneath the city, pulling entire blocks into the ocean. Eyewitness accounts speak of ships capsizing in harbors as the shoreline broke apart beneath them. Buildings sank vertically as if the sea opened its jaws and consumed the city whole. Thousands died. Thousands more vanished into the churning water. For centuries, divers could not access Port Royal's remains. The currents were dangerous, the harbor unstable, and the site considered cursed. But when underwater archaeology finally reached the region in the 20th century, researchers discovered something shocking. Port Royal had been preserved almost perfectly. Streets, walls, doorways, wine bottles, and clay pipes remained exactly as they were on that morning in 1692. The first divers described the sensation as stepping into a ghost city. Sunlight filtered through waves, illuminating door frames still standing, tables still set, and objects lying untouched since the earthquake. This preservation occurred because liquefaction pulled sections underwater intact, trapping them beneath sediment before decay could destroy them. It was like a time capsule from the age of piracy. One of the most striking finds was a tavern floor still scattered with tankards, shattered mugs, and coins from England and Spain. Archaeologists believe locals had been gambling or drinking at the moment the earth split beneath them. Some skeletons were discovered pinned under collapsed beams, frozen in the final seconds of their lives. These discoveries made history feel brutally immediate. Recovered weapons tell their own story. Divers found pistols still holstered, swords fused with rust, and cannons lodged inside what used to be guard towers. Such finds confirm accounts of Port Royal's chaotic, violent reputation. But they also reveal the city's defensive strength. Pirates in Port Royal were not merely criminals. They acted as unofficial naval muscle for the English crown, often sanctioned as privateers. In addition to structures, archaeologists found personal items that humanized the city's inhabitants. Clay tobacco pipes, pewter spoons, bone dice, combs, and religious medallions. These everyday objects painted a picture of a society simultaneously indulgent and desperate. A place where fortunes vanished as fast as they appeared, where survival depended on alliances, luck, and the sharpness of one's blade. One of the city's wealthiest residents, the notorious privateer Henry Morgan, had used Port Royal as his base of operations for years. Though he died before the earthquake, his legacy remained ingrained in the city's culture. Documents show that even after his death, his former captains still frequented Port Royal's taverns, telling stories of raids on Panama and Cuba. His world remained palpable among the ruins. The earthquake itself reshaped Jamaican history. Entire sections of coastline sank permanently, and new inlets formed overnight. Survivors described the landscape as unrecognizable. The sudden destruction pushed the English to relocate their main harbor to Kingston, allowing Port Royal to become a silent underwater memorial to its own excess and downfall. But its legend only grew as divers brought artifacts to the surface. Port Royal is the most famous lost pirate city, but it is not the only one. Across the world, the sea has swallowed entire coastal settlements that once housed raiders, traders, and maritime civilizations. Each carries its own story, some born in chaos, others in commerce. And each reveals how fragile human ambition becomes when measured against shifting water and unstable earth. Thousands of miles away, beneath the blue waters off Greece, lies Pavlopetri, one of the world's oldest submerged cities. Though not a pirate capital in the Caribbean sense, Pavlopetri was a hub for ancient maritime traders who operated much like early privateers. Its inhabitants sailed Minoan and Mycenaean routes, exchanging goods and navigating seas filled with dangers from both nature and humanity. Pavlopetri sank around 1000 BCE, likely due to earthquakes shifting the coastline. Divers who explored it found streets laid out in grid patterns, storage rooms for amphorae, and workshops where bronze tools were crafted. The city's structure shows clear signs of maritime orientation: harbors, wharf, like platforms and channels that suggest constant movement of goods. It reflects an early form of seafaring economy that pirates later exploited centuries afterward. The site's preservation is extraordinary. Archaeologists mapped entire neighborhoods, revealing how families lived in homes with courtyards and workshops. While not a pirate hideout, Pavlopetri's role as a trading nexus meant it hosted merchants who sometimes blurred the line between trader and raider. Ancient Mediterranean waters were infamous for piracy, and coastal settlements like this were frequent targets. Moving to North Africa, another city with a pirate connection lies beneath the waters near Egypt, Heracleion. For centuries, it existed only in ancient texts. Described as a bustling port full of traders, mercenaries, smugglers, and foreign sailors, it was a gateway for goods traveling between Greece, Egypt, and the rest of the Mediterranean. Over time, legends suggested it had sunk entirely into the sea. When divers discovered Heracleion in 2000, the world was stunned. Giant statues of pharaohs, temple columns, gold coins, and shipwrecks were found lying on silted sea floor. The city had collapsed into the waves due to rising water and liquefaction, similar to the fate of Port Royal. What made Heracleion extraordinary were the dozens of ships preserved beneath its ruins. These ships were not simple fishing vessels. They were heavily built, with reinforced hulls, suggesting they carried wealth or weapons. Some bore markings used by ancient mercenaries and sea raiders. Historical records confirm that Heracleion was a hub for private military groups who patrolled and sometimes terrorized Mediterranean trade routes. The city effectively served as a safe harbor for groups operating outside traditional empires. Among Heracleion's discoveries were unique lid anchors and massive oars that indicated ships larger than typical Mediterranean traders. Some scholars believe these were vessels used by early pirate syndicates, crews who operated with or without state approval depending on the political climate. Here, piracy blended seamlessly with government, sanctioned military force. Heracleion's underwater temples also revealed a world deeply tied to ritual and commerce. Divers found offerings of coins, ceramic vessels, and even animal bones preserved in mud. These relics suggest sailors prayed for protection before venturing into dangerous waters. Piracy in the ancient world was not just economic. It was spiritual, with seafarers believing gods dictated the outcome of each voyage. Beyond Egypt, other pirate-related outposts met watery ends. Carthage's naval harbors, once home to notorious privateers hired by the Punic Navy, partially sank due to coastal collapse. Though not fully submerged like Port Royal, sections of these ancient docks now sit underwater, where divers have recovered weapons, anchor stones, and remnants of ship sheds. These harbors were engineering marvels, circular basins with dozens of concealed ship chambers. The structures allowed Carthaginian captains to deploy fast vessels that could catch traders or evade Roman fleets. Over time, erosion and seismic activity caused sections to slip underwater, creating a fragmented but evocative image of a once unchallenged naval power. Another lesser-known pirate site lies near Madagascar, where Isle sank. Marie served as a base for Indian Ocean pirates during the 17th century. Though not sunken entirely, parts of its port infrastructure collapsed beneath changing tides. Divers found cannons, ballast stones, and trade goods from Europe, Arabia, and India, evidence of a global pirate economy. Many of the sunken remains near Madagascar belong to the ship Adventure Galley, commanded by William Kidd. Although Kidd's story is steeped in legend, the artifacts recovered reveal the harsh realities of pirate life. Rusted chains, splintered hulls, and abandoned tools. These pieces show that pirate empires were often fragile, rising and falling with storms, disease, and colonial retaliation. Returning to Port Royal, later dives uncovered something rare. A pocket watch stopped at the moment of the earthquake. The time on its face matched historical records of the disaster. This small object has become one of underwater archaeology's most iconic finds, a frozen second preserved by sediment and silence. Divers also located the remains of merchant buildings stacked with Spanish silver coins. The coins' condition suggests they were stored, not lost in pockets or spilled from tables. This supports the idea that Port Royal functioned equally as a trading powerhouse and pirate-friendly financial hub. Wealth flowed through the city in unpredictable currents. Another discovery involved a partially preserved tavern kitchen, complete with clay oven and food scraps. These mundane remnants show what daily life looked like. Fish bones, bread fragments, and rum residue preserved nearly intact. Such finds transform pirate stories from myth into tangible reality, showing how ordinary life existed next to extraordinary danger. Teams exploring Heracleion found a similar juxtaposition. Alongside monumental statues and shipwrecks, they uncovered storage jars filled with lentils, wheat, and olives. Everyday supplies preserved underwater reveal the city's dual role as both a religious center and a practical port. Even pirate-friendly cities needed grain merchants and fishmongers to keep crews alive. Heracleion also yielded dozens of small religious charms, amulets, and carvings carried by sailors. Many were depictions of Bays, the dwarf god associated with protection. These personal items remind researchers that even hardened mercenaries and raiders carried symbols for luck, fearing sea storms and enemy captains as much as mythical monsters. In some of Heracleion's deeper sectors, divers found entire ships buried beneath collapsed buildings. These vessels appear to have been anchored at port when disaster struck. Their placement suggests a sudden powerful collapse, likely an earthquake followed by liquefaction, dragging ships and structures into the sea together, just as in Port Royal. The preservation of wood in these waters is extraordinary. Thick layers of silt shielded hulls from oxygen and marine organisms, keeping them intact for centuries. Researchers identified ship designs dating across multiple eras, some Greek, some Egyptian, and others of mixed influence, revealing Heracleion's cosmopolitan character. In Pavlopetri, the discovery of child-sized pottery alongside workshop tools suggested family life existed alongside maritime trade. This city was not merely a port, but a community where seafaring culture shaped domestic existence. Pirates in later centuries inherited similar worlds, communities shaped by trade, risk, and the constant pull of the sea. The Mediterranean has long been home to pirate activity, and Pavlopetri's location near ancient trade routes made it vulnerable. Although its flooding predates the classical age of piracy, its sinking echoes the fates of later coastal towns that lived and died by the sea's mercy. Earthquakes, tides, and erosion erased them, leaving only scattered ruins for modern divers. Returning again to the Caribbean, another lost pirate village lies near the coast of Cuba. Though not as famous as Port Royal, this settlement housed privateers during the Anglo-Spanish conflicts. Coastal erosion swallowed part of the village, and divers have recovered musket balls, broken rum bottles, and pieces of ship planking. Each artifact is a weathered footprint of conflict. What connects all these lost cities is not simply piracy, but the fragility of coastal empires. Towns rose in places where harbors were deep, winds were favorable, and trade was profitable. Yet these same places were vulnerable to earthquakes, tsunamis, and shifting sea levels. The prosperity that attracted sailors also exposed the cities to natural catastrophe. In Port Royal's case, the geology beneath the city was its undoing. Built on a sand spit, the ground liquefied during the quake, transforming into a fluid mass incapable of supporting buildings. This natural reaction, still studied by geologists today, explains how entire structures sank intact. It was not divine punishment, as early writers claimed, but a geological inevitability. Heracleion's fall was slower but equally fatal. A combination of rising sea levels, sediment buildup, and earthquakes gradually undermined the city's foundation. As water seeped into sand layers beneath buildings, the ground softened, causing structures to tilt and slip underwater over centuries. Its end was not explosive but creeping, a quiet descent into obscurity. Divers exploring Heracleion noticed how the city's grid remains visible beneath the water. Streets, temples, and foundations lie outlined in soft silt. Unlike Port Royal, which fell violently, Heracleion's calm submergence preserved patterns of everyday life. This allowed archaeologists to map the entire city as though surveying an ancient blueprint. In Pavlopetri, the clarity of the Aegean waters makes the site particularly striking. Divers glide over roads and rooms that have remained untouched for nearly 3,000 years. These ancient streets offer a glimpse of early maritime culture, a reminder that humans have depended on the sea for trade, survival, and risk since civilization began. Pirate cities were more than dens of theft. They were multicultural zones where languages blended and goods circulated freely. Spanish coins lay beside English utensils in Port Royal. Egyptian statues stood near Greek shipwrecks in Heracleion. These cities illustrate how sea life erodes national boundaries and fosters communities defined not by borders, but by tides. Exploring these submerged cities also expands our understanding of piracy as a profession. Pirates weren't just outlaws hiding in caves. Many lived in structured towns with economies, leaders, and codes. Port Royal had government buildings and churches. Heracleion had temples and administrative districts. Beneath every myth is a working society. Many divers report the emotional weight of descending into these sites. Swimming through a doorframe or over a stone road invokes a strange sensation, part awe, part grief. The silence underwater feels like the held breath of a city waiting to be remembered. In these moments, history feels almost alive. Artifacts recovered from these cities undergo meticulous preservation. Wooden objects must be treated to prevent decomposition once exposed to air. Metal items are stabilized through chemical processes. Each object, whether a sword or a spoon, becomes a fragile ambassador from another time, carrying stories too old for memory yet too clear to be ignored. The research from these sites has reshaped academic understanding of ancient port economies, naval warfare, and maritime culture. Port Royal provided insight into early global trade. Pavlopetri revealed how Bronze Age mariners lived. Heracleion exposed the deep complexity of ancient Egypt's relationships with foreign sailors, mercenaries, and traders. These cities also raise ecological questions. Many sank because of natural disasters intensified by human settlement patterns. Overbuilding, overharvesting, or constructing on unstable ground. Their stories serve as cautionary tales about how delicate coastal life can be, especially when human ambition pushes against natural boundaries. Yet for all the tragedy, another theme emerges: resilience. Survivors of Port Royal rebuilt their lives in Kingston. Ancient Egyptians shifted trade routes after Heracleion fell. People adapt even as the sea reclaims land. The ruins beneath the waves remind us that human history is both fragile and enduring. Modern exploration continues. SONAR mapping grows more precise. Underwater drones penetrate darker waters, and archaeologists push deeper into submerged histories. Each year reveals new structures, warehouses, quays, temples, and shipwrecks that further illuminate the daily realities of seafaring civilizations and the dangers they faced. The mystery is not why these cities existed, but why so many were forgotten. Storms, wars, shifting empires, and rising seas erased them from maps. Only when divers descended centuries later did their stories resurface. Their rediscovery shows how much human history lies hidden, preserved in salt, sand, and silence. Today, these underwater ruins stand as frozen chapters of maritime life. They are windows into cultures that thrived on trade, conflict, and uncertain seas. Each stone, coin, and broken mast reveals a tale of courage, vice, ambition, and loss. Together, they form a mosaic of civilizations swallowed but not erased. The lost pirate cities swallowed by the sea are not fantasies. They are real worlds preserved beneath waves, waiting for us to listen. Their stories challenge assumptions, deepen our understanding of maritime history, and remind us how quickly power can crumble when the earth moves or the ocean shifts. As divers continue exploring these submerged realms, each discovery brings the past back into the light, proving that even sunken cities still have stories to tell.